Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of Brick Business 101. I am with Jeremy Root. He's the owner of JC Brick Company in what part of Michigan again?
Well, it's Morrice, Michigan, but it's kind of like the central area, just between Lansing and Flint.
Okay, we'll call it Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah, there you go.
I haven't been there myself, but we have interacted. Jeremy's been to my store before. And if you don't know about us, we are RefreshToys for the moment, but we're changing our name. And that'll be for a different episode. But we got Jeremy on today because his store tomorrow has been open 5 years. So I'm trying to get small independent brick stores to come on and discuss what it's like owning a non-franchise model. So Jeremy, if you could just tell us about your store a little bit and how you started it all.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate that. And mine kind of started with passion for Lego. I enjoyed Lego. Got out of it for many years, and I actually had a friend of mine that got me walking down the aisle at Walmart to check Lego, and I was like, "No, man, no, that's toys. I'm out of them. I'm not doing." And I got a set, which was the Darth Vader transformation, little set. Built it that same night, and then I had to buy Vader's castle. Then I had to buy, the Ewok village, and then I had to, I had started going to the Bricks and Minifigs in Clinton Township, and I thought, man, this place is, I'm like, this is pretty cool. I'm like, I think I could do this, and, I've amassed a collection of stuff, just my own personal collection. Cause I'm a collector too. I like certain sets. But I got doing that and I just started seeing it. And I thought, this is kind of cool. This is kind of fun. It's a hobby I enjoy. And I thought, seeing what these other guys were doing, I thought I could probably do that. I know I have enough of a collection. I know I have enough of, my own. So I actually started by going to a couple of independent stores in Ohio and Indiana. And I talked to the owners a little bit, just, kind of picked their brain a little bit. I didn't tell them I was opening a store, but I kept thinking about it, and then actually I did. It's a block party in Indianapolis. I talked with him and he was like, you know what, do it. And definitely go independent. Don't franchise. He's like, it's so much better when you can do what you want. You can make your decisions. You can decide what you put out. You can decide what you buy. You can decide what you have in there. You're not beholden to anything. And I thought, okay, and he also gave me some advice on like location, because I wanted something in my area, not too far.
So that, not to interrupt, that was going to be one of my questions, and you may have answered this when you were here originally, but I can't remember. So your current location, is that where you started, or did you guys move?
This is where I've been since we started. Yeah, it was kind of smaller. I had it more closed off. I had a break kind of in the back, midway through the store. So I've got just over 2,500 square feet, and I had it broke so that I had tables set up in the back where you could do builds. And that's kind of where I went through used. I bought a lot of used collections when I was first starting. And that's where we would go through. We would inventory them, go through what we needed to do. But just in the last year and a half is when we kind of got rid of the tables. I got rid of them, moved them out, and just expanded, and then put some slat wall up the wall. And now the full 2,500 square feet, instead of having like 1,500.
Yeah, that's kind of the same thing I did when we first opened. I had a lot of space dedicated to, we had a couple of recliners. We had, amenities, but things you don't necessarily see in most retail stores. They sound like a good idea. A table sounds great to sit and build, but is it actually bringing anything to the store when you could put a display there and actually sell something? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, my mic is falling apart here.
Yeah, no problem.
I should add, this is not the final iteration of this podcast. My camera got stuck in transit with Amazon, so I'm using my little webcam here. But this is our store. The lighting is going to be a lot better and everything else. So tell us about the sale tomorrow.
So the sale is going to be our 5 years. Let me actually, 1 second. The sale is actually going to be, so I've got some discounts. We're doing some progressive discounts. The more you spend, the more you'll get. I'm going to do a vault opening featuring some of those harder to find sets that are both in my collection, that are hard to find, that you can't get. Ones I'm reluctant to get rid of, but I'm like, I think, for 5 years, it's kind of a big milestone. So I'm willing to part with some of them. We're going to be doing for the first 30 customers. We're going to have free gift, free polybag, free blind minifigure, and then when they get an additional 5 entries into our giveaway as well. We got 3 different sets. We got a Lego truck, we got a botanical bundle, and then our Star Wars, the droid with little young Leia in it. So we'll give some people their opportunities. Every $50 you spend will get you an entry in. And so we've got a lot going on. Our deals table was popular at Star Wars, so I brought that back, which is any of the sets I've got a ton of. I started doing 40-50% off, and we're going to have deals everywhere. Deals everywhere. Not that we want to let people know we do deals all the time, but you got to celebrate when you hit some milestones.
Yeah, not to get too far in the weeds, and I'm sure you experience this too. Like, obviously, you want to sell this stuff, but that people will really, really realize quickly that they can ask you for a deal every time they walk in the door. And some sets you just can't do it on.
Yeah. I mean, it does happen quite often, and it's hard sometimes because you've been doing business with people for a while, and you're like, well, hey, most of the people, if they're Lego people, they get it. They're going to know what a set's worth. They're going to know that, I do try to pay fair. I'm not quite as high as you on everything. You're probably a little more fair than I am, but I do try to do if it's stuff I know is going to move quick. I can be closer to that 50 or that 60-70%.
Right.
My normal model has always been 40 and 50. I do 40% cash, 50% credit, but then I've got to know where, obviously when there gets more of the franchise stores opening, and I've actually got a couple of new independent stores in Michigan now. I was the first one, and now we have 2 others. So, and they're getting a little more competitive with their offers. So that's having to make me raise my bar a little bit, so.
I'll just interject, and I actually support a couple of those other stores. I plan to have them on, but cool. I think you are head and shoulders above everybody else in the state of Michigan, at least. Okay. Just don't plan on an Ohio store, or we're gonna have problems.
No Ohio store. No Ohio store. I'm going to let you corner that market. I'm a Spartan. I'm not a Buckeye. I don't.
Well, the big question I have, and the reason that I do this YouTube channel and want to have these interviews is tell people out there, whether it's hard or easy, or what it took to start your store originally, whether it's the capital you put into it, the sweat equity, the amount of time you spent not getting paid. Would you do it again?
I would, yeah. Because I think, the different jobs I've had, this is by far the best one. It's the most rewarding. You're constantly meeting people that are happy. They're they enjoy the hobby. They enjoy a good find. They enjoy a nice deal. And it's like in other jobs I was in local government. I was in security, public safety. And it's like those jobs, you tend to meet the worst kind of people, not the greatest of people. So it's like it kind of wears you down. Where this one, it took a lot. It took a lot of not getting paid. It took a lot of putting time in. It took a lot of things I purchased. A lot of it was when I first started, we had some startup capital, but we shoestringed just about everything. I mean, we were finding tables and shelves on Marketplace. We were finding, some of the shelves I did get from a Sam's Club, so they looked a little bit nicer. But I mean, for little display tables, it was Marketplace fine. Cheaper stuff like that, and the collection, like I said in the beginning, was mine. I had a lot of stuff that I was willing to part with. Then also, of course, everybody knows a toy house. So, you get to get into toy house, which, that's
see, you say that, and I think a lot of people in our line of work know about it. And obviously the franchise owners that are kind of beholden to that structure know it. I don't know if the everyday people out there know that the new Lego sets, at least, there's only one way to get them, unless you're walking into a Target and buying it yourself, is through Toy House LLC, which could be a fine company. I mean, they give you access to some average sets, but the margins are just horrible. They're terrible.
Yes, they are. And
And they're
I feel like in 5 years they've done nothing but get worse. You know,
yeah,
they weren't bad when I started 5 years ago. They were, well, I mean, they weren't great. Let's say we were still at like 20% at the best. And then, now on some you're at like 13. And I'm like, whoa.
and it's tough too because you're competing with those big box stores that if something sits for a month or two, they are slashing it to get rid of it. As soon as the season changes, it's on Amazon for 40% off. And then our mutual friend that lives near you buys 100 of each and stashes them away. But
yes, he does.
yeah,
Yes,
I'd love to get him on sometime too if he's not too shy. But that'll be a different show. So we asked about starting starting your independent store. You had a big collection. Did you ever investigate going the franchise route?
I did. When I first started, I did. And I think, I think the fee structures and everything were a lot less than they are now. Well, not a lot less. I mean, it was still, I want to say when I looked into it, it was like 30 to 35,000 just to buy in. They wanted you to have 150,000 in assets up front. And, I just think up front, that was just not something I could, I probably could have bought into the franchise, but then just the assets, I wouldn't have had that. So I kept thinking about it just because I did think, there was only one Bricks and Minifigs in Michigan at the time, over in Clinton Township. And it's like, I thought, okay, that could be a good market because there's only one. And then, like I said, when I went on that tour through Ohio and Indiana, it was like the Indiana It's a Block Party was like, definitely do not franchise, so that was kind of like and I was like, okay. I think and he was just very convincing, you can do this yourself. You don't need help. You don't need all these other, what are you getting for the money you're putting out? And then I've also been in it for 5 years and I see I don't know how some of the places do it. Like sometimes the margins are absolutely thin. Sometimes the profit is absolutely thin, really thin, so that's why I just wonder sometimes how the other stores can do that.
Well, I was
overhead,
I was commenting on a chat earlier on it's called Lus. It's a lawyer named Tony, and he was interviewing Crystal Gorman, who was the owner of that BAM where the collection, was taken or whatever. And she mentioned that they were on average doing about $20,000 per month in sales. And just quick back of the napkin math, I don't see how you could make it happen, especially in a big area, high cost of living. I don't know how you do it and pay yourself and pay employees and kick up the corporate. So good luck to the people that can, but to me, independent seems like a no-brainer for me, at least.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. I don't regret it now. I'm happy. And that's not just because of what's going on with the other franchises, but I definitely like the independence. I like, setting my hours. I like deciding when what I'm going to have, what I'm going to offer. I like knowing what I can offer. I can make a deal with somebody, without having to look and determine what, maybe I can offer higher than I normally, than it's allowed, So,
well, that's a big question too. So do you do layaway or would you do consignment for someone?
No, I don't do either one. I guess I lay away a little. I mean, I may have done before, but I try not to do it now. There's too many things that I put out that it's hard to put something out on social media. Everybody see it. They're coming to the store and then one person messaged you and now it's gone. Well, the people that won't message, what do they do now? Because a lot of these things that we get, I mean, maybe you too, like you're not always getting 10 of them. You only have one, sometimes. And then if it's a hard to find or somebody's collection, you're only going to have that.
So, yeah, I do think that some people, if they're experienced with that franchise model, that's kind of what they expect. They walk into a store and they think, oh, why don't you have 10 of the Upside Down House or 20 of the Ghostbuster Firehouse? Well, we get our sets a little differently, and especially the higher end stuff, it's going to be much harder to come by. I do have 10 copies of whatever just went on sale on Amazon because they come in the door all the time. People we'll find sets that are 75% off. They'll bring them here. I'll give them 60 and they're happy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I get the same thing.
Well, hey, we're just at the 15-minute mark. Anything else you'd like to discuss? I really do appreciate your time. Just behind the scenes here, I scheduled this webcam 12 hours ago and couldn't get my mic to work. So I had to go out and buy a microphone and everything else. So Jeremy has been very helpful with this. My first guest, very understanding. He's been working in the store all day, getting ready for the big sale tomorrow. If you just want to tell him about it one more time, I'll make sure to post this tonight. So maybe we can get some business coming your way.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate it. And again, thanks for having me on. Like, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I was trying to get on, and then the store got busy. Then I was doing some setup. So you kind of worked with me too to make sure I could get on. But yeah, tomorrow's the 5 years, 5 years in business. Big milestone for us. We're happy. We also rebranded the front of the store. We put a new logo. I didn't really mention that, but I've got some new stuff on the front of the building. So it kind of draws your eye to it. Something we've been wanting to do, just never got to. But yeah, tomorrow's going to have the big draw is going to be the vault opening. A lot of harder to find. Some is going to be more recently retired. Some's going to be some of the older themes, older lines. And the cool thing about the vault too is going to be we're going to be seeing sets that are $25. Not everything's going to be $1,000. It's not like a vault and it's only highly exclusive stuff. It's going to be something that, if you want, there's some old cool Space Police line. There's some Ninjago the movie line, but they're not too expensive. They're not, out of reach. So everybody can get something. Our deals table was really popular in May. We offer a lot of 40 and 50% off sets. The big draws, obviously, the discounts. If you spend over $250, you get 25 off. 500, we're offering 75 off. $125 off of 750 or more, and then the 200 off 1,000 or more. And then we do rewards. So anything over 100 is 5% back. So we just, we're looking for a big day tomorrow. And, if you get some chance to get some free time, drive on up. It's not that far to drive.
Jeremy, I have a 4 and 5-year-old. There's no chance. We made that trip before we went to the Bavarian Inn, and it wasn't too bad. It was a kind of a nightmare drive back and forth. But yeah. How's the smoke up there? Very smoky right now?
Very smoky.
Okay.
Yeah, very bad. And that's why I'm wondering. I'm hoping. We had a big lineup for the May the 4th, and I'm wondering that's going to impact people wanting to line up. But
no, I was very impressed with your May the 4th photos. At least it seemed like you had about 100 people lined up at the door, and I always grab to my employees because we don't do sales that often, and when I do them, no one shows up. So that's something I have to get better at. Based on
next time you have one, let me know. I'll drive down.
Okay. Based on what you said there a couple minutes ago, I did kind of have a question. So this, the audience might not know this. I'm not a Lego collector. I built Lego when I was a kid. My kids are getting into it now. I'm a sports card collector. It makes it easy for me to sell anything in the store. Is there anything that you've kind of had to make the Sophie's Choice decision on? Anything that you've had in the store that you didn't want to sell? Something cool comes in, you want to buy it, but obviously you bought it, but you want to keep it, and it just doesn't make sense financially.
Yeah, I would say that happens 2 or 3 times a day. There's sometimes, there's sometimes hard to find Star Wars sets. My original collection started liking Star Wars. Then it kind of went into the Marvel and DC stuff. So yeah, anytime a superhero set comes, I'm like, man, I remember that one. I never got that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. There are some I have kept.
Well, just looking at
it's quite often I have to really discipline myself, man, because it's also cool to have, then you feature it, and it's awesome to have a set like that you can't find. So
see, but that's how I would be with sports cards, because we are moving locations, and there was talk of possibly doing a sports card store in its place. And all I would do is just buy the cards that I wanted and price them so high that nobody would buy them. And then I have a sports card museum, and that's it. And I go out of business.
Yeah.
So,
but then you'd at least be happy when they did sell. You'd be like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah. Well, hey, Jeremy, again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you're watching this, go to JC Brick Company. Take a nice drive tomorrow. It's only a couple hours from here.
Yep. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Hey, have a good night. Thanks.
You too. Yep. Bye.